Are you kind? Take a moment and let that question sink in. Are you kind? Kindness is one of the fruits of the Spirit. That means if you're living the way that God has instructed you to be living, the way that you're supposed to live according to your faith, then kindness will be one of the fruits that grows out of your life. When you think about kindness, what comes to mind? I think most often we think of things that we do for other people. Usually it's some sort of action or gesture to tangibly show our kindness. But what if we took a moment and stopped thinking of kindness as an action and started thinking of kindness as a way of living? Paul writes in Colossians 3 verse 12, "Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience." This verse says that we should clothe ourselves with kindness. Now, when you get dressed for the day, do you just wear your clothes long enough for someone to see them before you take them off? Of course not. That would defeat the entire purpose of wearing clothes, and quite honestly, it would be pretty inappropriate, so maybe don't do that. In the same way though, kindness should not be a single action that we check off our daily to-do list and then completely forget about. Instead, it should be something that we equip ourselves with, wrap all around us, and wear all day long. I know it may be weird to change our perspective about what kindness is and how it should look, but there are a number of ways that this can happen. Tonight, we're going to discuss 3 of those ways. The first one is kindness with our words, then kindness with our actions, and then kindness with our attitude. Let's start with words. It's incredibly easy to be unkind with our words. Let's face it, we've all had experiences where we speak unkind words in the heat of the moment. Our tongues are sharp and can cut deeply if we're not careful with them. Sometimes we say the first thing that comes to mind, especially when we're frustrated, or we fail to think about what we're going to say and how it's going to impact the person that we're saying it to before we even open our mouths. It can result in a lot of hurt feelings and a lot of regretted words. On the flip side, it can also be incredibly easy to be kind with our words. Yes, even when we're mad. How? Well, by taking just a little extra time to think about our words before we speak them out loud. I know, it sounds like a lot of work, but it's really not. Actually, it's fairly simple. We just need to ask ourselves one question. Are these words kind? If the answer is yes, well, that's awesome. Go right on ahead, say them out loud. Clothe yourself in that kindness with those words. If the answer is no, then just don't say them, even if you really want to. Think of a different way to say what you want and to get your point across, only this time, use kindness. Then there's kindness with our actions. This one to me kind of seems like a freebie, right? We know we should act kindly to others, but do we really take the time to think about whether or not our actions are being done in kindness? In the busyness of everyday life, kindness can quickly become something that is shoved aside in favor of convenience. Why? Well, because it's just not convenient to be kind. It's way easier to focus on ourselves and what we need. So this week, as we're all going about our normal routines, well, normal-ish routines, it's important that we take some time to purposefully make sure our actions are kind. Don't only think about how your actions affect you or what people might think of you. Instead, think about how you can exhibit kindness with your actions, and then do that. Finally, we come to kindness with our attitude. Personally, I think this one is the hardest. It can be so tricky. I really don't know anyone who has mastered this. I especially have not. I mean, how many of us can genuinely say that we have a kind attitude all the time? Not me. But think about it. When someone is getting on your nerves, is your attitude toward them kind? What about when someone is unkind to you first? Or what about when things don't work out the way that you wanted them to? Does your attitude still show kindness? Right now, especially, our patience might be running thin. We have been cooped up, away from our friends and our normal activities. Our families might be wearing us down. It's hard. Ultimately, though, there's only one person who has complete control over your attitude, and that person is you. So take control of it. When a situation happens that makes you feel irritated or tests your patience, I know some of you have siblings, or brings up any other kind of emotion, try this. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, or one or two, and make the choice to react with kindness. If this is something you struggle with, practice. When you feel yourself struggling to have a kind attitude, you can calm yourself, ask God to help you, and work toward having more kindness in your heart and less of whatever else is going on. God loves you and wants to help you, especially to grow you in the ways that God has called you to. So just ask. Job 6:14 says, "Anyone who withholds kindness from a friend forsakes the fear of the Almighty." In this verse, fear doesn't mean what we usually think it to mean. It's not to cower in the corner terrified. In this passage, it actually means to revere or to respect. Here it says that keeping kindness from a friend is abandoning the fear of God. In other words, if you're not being kind to those around you, you aren't respecting God. That doesn't sound too good, does it? But that's how important kindness is to God. It's so important that God says that withholding kindness from a friend is withholding fear and respect from God. That is a big deal. It's so important to show kindness to everyone, even the people who you don't feel like being kind to. In fact, they might be the most important ones to be kind to. No matter what people might look like on the outside, and no matter what their life might look like from the outside, you never know what they are going through on the inside. It can never hurt to be kind to someone, but it can certainly hurt to be unkind. Here's a challenge for you. Think of someone you've had trouble being kind to this last week. Bonus points if it's someone you're quarantined with. Now, make a list of 3 ways you can be kind to them this next week. One of those ways should be with your words. One of them should be with your actions. And one of them should be with your attitude. It might not be super easy, but it will be good for your soul. Have you ever heard the saying, "You may be the only part of Jesus that someone ever sees"? There are a lot of people in the world, in the USA, and even right here in San Diego that have completely written off the church. Some of them struggle to understand faith and they need people to show them what it looks like. Some of them have been deeply hurt by people who call themselves Christians, and they need examples of Christians who aren't going to hurt them. Ultimately, that saying means that there are some people in our lives who may never go to church or open a Bible on their own. So we may very well be one of the only ways someone experiences the love, joy, and kindness of Jesus. That's a big responsibility, but we are more than capable. We're going to hop on our youth group Zoom call in just a minute, so be thinking about the following discussion questions. And then click the link below. Getting better at this, right? The first question is, have you ever regretted not showing kindness to someone? Do you take the time to think about whether or not your actions are kind? If not, is that something you want to start doing? Do you think that others would describe your attitude as kind? Why or why not? What are some ways that God has shown kindness to you? And finally, what are some ways you can practice kindness this week? Get ready to discuss, and I will see you soon.